Hello YouTube and Merry Christmas observed. It is Toy Adventures here again with another figure review. And today we're taking a look at yet another Christmas present. And it's a nice and special one. Today we get the honor of looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Series. Alvin, Breaker, Kilby with Ram Cycle. So, in my earlier G.I. Joe reviews, I made the mistake of assuming that the Ram Cycle came with rock and roll. That's because the original Ram Cycle, I believe, came with rock and roll as well from the 80s. And so I always associate the Ram Cycle with rock and roll. It still kind of perplexes me why they released it with Breaker. I feel like Breaker would have made an excellent single-carded release just because he looks like a generic soldier. And this really could have been your generic good guy for the G.I. Joe team. So him being packaged with this big expensive set kind of feels like a waste. I really feel like Hasbro missed an opportunity to release this guy on his own and then pack a more unique looking rock and roll with this, so that way we could get Breaker en masse and maybe even try and army build him just as like a generic G.I. Joe trooper. That's kind of how I like to see it, just because how good and generic he looks as a soldier. That makes him very valuable to me, because he could just be a generic Joe or army trooper supporting the Joes in their fight or whatever. So interesting that they chose Breaker for this instead of the original rock and roll, but nonetheless we get an awesome looking set here. As you can see, we get the Ram Cycle, a big old minigun, the sidecar that holds said minigun, and Breaker himself. Now, one thing I have to complain about a little bit is Breaker's lack of accessories. Other than the Ram Cycle, Breaker does not come with anything other than his helmet. No rifle, no sidearm, no knife, no nothing. It is just him and his helmet, and then the motorcycle, which really feels barren for this toy line. I'm used to these Joes coming with knives, at minimum one knife, sometimes two, pistols, sometimes even two rifles, maybe a scarf, all kinds of stuff that you just don't see here. And it's just kind of sad, because Breaker as its own figure looks so cool. I could only imagine it with a holster or a drop leg, a medical pouch, or a backpack, or just something to spice him up a little bit more, because it looks a little barren, and they really just said, put him on the motorcycle, that's it. Well, I'm going to give this to Stalker. But anyway, that's getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get on with the box, shall we? So I looked for this guy a while in Target, and I could never find him. And taking a look at this box, it's a real shame, because I would have found it immediately had I just seen it. But it was never there. It is a beautiful artwork of Breaker here on the Ram Cycle, kind of drifting in, along with a nice image that continues onto the side of him on the Ram Cycle. Again, continuing the tradition of this series, having some of the best artwork in the toy aisle currently, which says Special Missions Cobra Island, G.I. Joe Classified Series. Taking a look here at the top, it is number 29 in the series, so it actually was released fairly early on, and I can still never find this in stores. It made me mad, because I really wanted at least two of these guys. So, taking a look here at the back of the box, a pretty unique looking mural. This is Cobra Island. We have what looks like to be a kind of Mustafar playset looking base. Shout out to any of you guys who, were children around the Revenge of the Sith toy line and remember that Mustafar volcano playset. That thing was so fire, pun intended. And then we have just a kind of a diagram of the island. You have kind of a radar system here, maybe what looks like to be an airfield, and then just a bridge, just random military installations. This seems to be Cobra Island, where Breaker is looking to infiltrate with the Ram Cycle. And taking a look here at the back, you have all his little symbols. I guess okay, so he is the radio man. So there's the radio tower. That makes perfect sense, because that's Breaker's his speciality. Communications, talking with people, and probably like hacking or cybersecurity or something like that. So he is just a tech guy in general. So very cool, very cool. And I cannot wait to get this thing out of the box. I've already messed with the figure a bit, but I have not gotten to mess with the motorcycle. So let's get Breaker and break him out. And here is Breaker all out of the packaging. Now first, we are going to take a look at the cycle itself. But of course, we're going to take a quick look at the accessories and just name them off before we take a look at them individually. You get Breaker, you get his helmet, you get the minigun, which at this point is not really a minigun anymore. That looks more like a rotary cannon. And then you have the sidecar that holds the cannon, and you get the ram cycle itself. So first, we're going to take a look at this ram cycle because this thing is pretty cool. First things first, we actually do have rubber tires. So I just wanted to mention that off right at the back because I know some of you are curious if these are plastic or rubber. These are actually nice and rubber. Taking a look at the ram cycle itself, it is a nice little throwback to the classic one. You have MG 1027 right here, 36, and there's a little symbol right there, but you can't really tell what is written on it. It has a little castle logo. Try and get that into frame. Again, try to get that into focus. There you go, you can see that. Taking a look here at the back, you have a nice little weathered American flag looking really cool. Some nice silver detail going throughout here just to break up some of the green. And then you have all the black engine bits down here. You do have a flip up and flip down kickstand. Gotta love that. That lets you display this nicely. Taking a look here at the other side, you have a little mechanic logo right here. That might be where they hold spare parts or something. And then you have the MG 1027 right here with the G.I. Joe logo. It says G.I. Joe right here. Looking very nice. I guess in canonically, G.I. Joe vehicles, aside from just the toys, also canonically have G.I. Joe written on them too. So that's pretty interesting. And it says instrument cover right here. Pretty cool. Taking a look at the minigun next. It is just a pretty simple cannon right here. The barrel does in fact rotate. I don't think anything else really comes off. I believe that is just it. It rotates. And it can be held by Breaker. This is supposed to be Breaker's weapon. Yeah, baloney. I'm pretty much going to fit out Breaker with a bunch of Velaverse gear, but we'll get into that once I get into Breaker himself. This little sidecar is not really too much of an accessory. It's just another part to the ram cycle you need to attach. But we'll take a look at it separately. It says USA right there, and 36 right there in that little decal, and that's pretty much it. This just opens up, and you put this thing in there like this. It fits in nice and snug, and then you just plug it back together, and you have the ram cycle little sidecar weapon. And then you just plug that in to the pegs right here on the side, and there you go. The ram cycle is fully equipped. And now that we have the ram cycle fully ready to be operated, I believe there's also a gimmick where this thing can launch out. Am I mistaken? I think I'm mistaken. Okay, I thought there was a gimmick where you push this forward and the thing opens up. That would have been a little too toyish for this line. This is mostly a collector's line, so I don't know why it's out there. Anyway, taking a look here at Breaker. This is one of the coolest looking classified series just for the fact that it looks just like a generic army soldier. This is a nice army builder. Like I said, unfortunately, it is not sold in an army building friendly format. You have to get the ram cycle and pay $40 just to get a really good looking trooper. Kind of tough they didn't release him on his own, but it's all right at the end of the day because he is still technically a named character. You just have this really nice olive drab green going out at the entire body. Pardon me, I had to burp. And then you have a really nice plate carrier right here with some ammo pouches that look like to be M16. So I don't know why he didn't come with an M16 or an M4 or AR-15 or anything like that, because that seems to be the type of ammo he's carrying on him. Then you have black painted straps back here that lead to no backpack at all. This is just one big vest. Again, the lack of accessories on this guy is apparent. As you can see, his legs look pretty bare. There's no holster, there's no strap, there's no gear, there's no sheath, no boot sheath. There's no nothing on this guy, and it really, really is kind of tragic because he has so much potential as a figure to look amazing. You just need to go to Velaverse.com, pick up some holsters, maybe a backpack, maybe even a scarf or something, and you can really have this guy looking truly Yo Joe. Breaker's only accessory is his cool little helmet right here with a built-in radio mic. I like the fact that they made it look like a modern military helmet with some not goggles, reflective glasses in there. Those look really nice. The sculpt work on this little like headset on the helmet looks really clean. I really like this helmet a lot, and I'm just very pleased with this. And it fits nice and snug on his head, completing the look. The only thing I think he's missing is a radio backpack. I'm thinking about getting him a radio backpack and then a holster just to complete his look, maybe even a sheath, just to really fill out the figure and make it look more equipped. And yeah, he looks really good, really good. Can't wait to get accessories on this guy just to fill him out just a little bit more. So, going over his articulation, I'm really not going to go into deep depth because I've reviewed a ton of these guys and they all have the same articulation. It is standard throughout the line, but yeah, there's really nothing too unique. The ab crunch on this guy is hindered by the vest, unfortunately, but you do have double jointed arms, hinge and rotation at the wrist, bicep swivel. You have a really good up and down arm movement in the arm, of course, 360-degree rotation, ball joint at the head and at the base of the neck, rotation here in the waist, thigh swivel, double jointed knees, boot swivel, and hinge and rocker here at the foot. Again, like I said, these guys are always super decked out and can really hit any cool military pose you need. That being said, let's see how well we can get him on the ram cycle. No real surprise, this guy can get on it perfectly and looks extremely convincing doing it. I mean, a figure with this much articulation can absolutely pull off a really cool motorcycle pose. It's just such a shame he doesn't have like his own weapon that he can be shooting off the side of it. I mean, they are re-releasing the ram cycle with a really cool looking Duke that I will be getting. I'll go ahead and show that right now. That Duke comes with Stalker's submachine gun, so they still pack Duke with accessories. Why they didn't do that here is such a loss, because we could really have Breaker with either a submachine gun, maybe an MP5 or something, just blasting off the side of the ram cycle. It'd be so cool. But there's just nothing, and he's a radio guy with no radio pack. I mean, granted, it's modern tech, maybe all that can just fit into his headset, but it still doesn't really fill out the look of the character and kind of has him looking bare. I think they should have gave him something, especially at least a holster. I mean, Dusty at least came with a sheath, but this guy, nothing. So that is tough, but it is not the end of the world considering we have stuff like Valaverse and Gridiron Studios on eBay that can fill in the blanks that Hasbro leaves in these Joes, because these Joes have so much potential to be done well, and only now is Hasbro really capitalizing on that, I feel, and really bringing this line to the true potential it has. Anyway, guys, that's all I had to say about this. What I'm going to do with this guy, I'm going to give this to Stalker, actually, because I believe Stalker is a little more known for using the ram cycle. At least that's how it was in the original miniseries, where he used it prominently. And I'm probably going to give Breaker Stalker's machine gun, because he comes with the submachine gun and the machine gun. They really gave Stalker great accessories. And thanks to that, he's going to get Stalker's old machine gun, be on the shelf on his own, and Stalker will use the ram cycle, so it looks a little more proper. But before we do that, I have to show Breaker wielding the minigun, because that's kind of what intended to be his weapon, even though it's technically the ram cycle's weapon, but you know. Now let's say Cobra has destroyed your vehicle. Go ahead and press RB to rip the turret off its mount. Points to whoever gets that reference. And use the minigun to lay waste upon Cobra's forces, even though there is no ammo being fed into it and there's no power source, and he is essentially holding a cannon which will throw him back the moment he tries to fire it full auto. Yeah, the idea of holding miniguns is cool, but it's just so far from reality. But this is G.I. Joe, so it's totally acceptable, and Breaker will totally be able to use this thing and wipe out Cobra like it's nothing. Yo, Joe. Yeah, he's a little tough to stand. His legs are a little loose in the hips, but if you finagle with him just a bit, you'll get it to work, and you'll get him looking sweet. So anyway, guys, that has been my review on the Breaker and Ram Cycle from the G.I. Joe Classified series. Definitely satisfied with this, and this is going to get an 8 out of 10. Those 2 points are taken off due to the fact that Breaker is just lacking critical accessories that leave him kind of naked when you take the Ram Cycle away and give it to another figure. So with that being said, I still think it's a great buy, and as long as you're willing to get him some accessories, this could be one of the coolest looking Joes in the line. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next figure review. and the Next Toy Movie. This has been Toy Adventures, signing out. Peace and Happy New Year, guys. Here's to 2023.